Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. It's your boy Kevinthornton. You have tuned in to the Wellness Architect Show. Today is Monday, December 10th, 2018. We're in the home stretch of Christmas holidays. So I hope everybody's enjoying themselves and all that. So today I have an amazing show. My whole platform is to inspire, educate, and empower people to be the best version of themselves, mind, body, and spirit, but also financial. So this guest I have today embodies all of that. And so I'm super excited to have her on the show today. She's going to be calling in. So unfortunately, you can't see her face. But I have Dr. Key. She is the CEO and founder of the Village Market ATL. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you for coming on the show. I'm super excited. I've heard great things about you. What you're doing in the community, what you're doing for everyone. So, can you tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how you get to this point right now where you're at?
Yes, I do the best I can. I am Dr. Latisha Hallmon, Dr. Key, fondly known as Dr. Key, native of Mississippi. I moved to Atlanta almost 8 years ago. When I moved here, I was coming to Cobb County to teach there and to be an administrator. But my work in entrepreneurship and the things that I've done in the community has been since I was actually in high school. And I tell people all the time, I've seen entrepreneurship, I've seen community, I've seen the concept of the village, I've seen farm to the table my whole life. I didn't know it was a thing, though. It was just how I grew up, and so it was normalized. So when I hear people talk about the work of my company, the Village Market ATL, that brings exposure to hundreds of Black-owned businesses for the last 2.5 years, that we also have this plant-based cafe. When people get so excited about the village, I say, well, this is kind of what I've always seen. I've put my own spin on an event, but as far as community and believing in the collective and believing in cooperative economics and understanding that food and health is the greatest form of wealth, I've been indoctrinated in that my whole life, Kevin.
Wow. So you have a plant-based cafe at the Village Market?
Yes, we have a plant-based cafe, so we have about 15 to 18 plant-based culinary artists who come in and showcase their foods. It's been amazing. It's actually, to me, one of the most special things about the Village Market. Of course, we have amazing businesses who come from all over the country, but to see non-plant-based, non-vegan people indulge in the foods and love it, that was the purpose.
Wow.
I told everyone when I created the Village Cafe, it wasn't to promote plant-based foods. It wasn't to promote people being vegan or to be isolating in the narrative of what it means to have health. I just wanted to show people a different palate experience, because then I think when you get a different experience, it informs you in your choices that you make thereafter.
Absolutely. So, 'cause that's one of the things I'm so excited about to hearing that, because a lot of times you got people who say the hard part of trying to transition to a plant-based lifestyle is that, especially here in Atlanta, there's not a lot of places for them to go and eat if they don't want to cook. And so for them to find out
Right.
something like this is available to them, um, that will kind of eliminate the excuse of not being able to try to do it, because there's place out there that's accessible to you, that you can go and have a great plant-based meal and a great plant-based experience. So
Yeah, that was the goal. And I wanted to make sure, Kevin, it also tastes good, because when you're introducing something new and something that is rooted in health, it's almost like you have a small window of getting people the first time. So
exactly.
I knew when hand selecting the culinary artists, the chefs who participate in it, it was, I sat at their tables myself first, so I can taste their foods and understand their process and get a feel for the energy, because I knew that they would be feeding thousands of people, and they would be feeding them something new that they probably haven't had before. And so that experience to me was so important in making sure that it was good and palatable and something that people will want when there's no village market. And it will make them ask questions and go to seminars and things like that.
So how long have you been, are you completely plant-based or?
Yes, I've been plant-based now for 5 years. Before being plant-based, I was vegetarian for 9 years. So in all, it's been about 15 years since I had a complete holistic lifestyle shift. And when I became vegetarian, I had no idea there was a such thing as being plant-based.
Right.
I thought I was winning, right? Because it was, several years ago at this point. But I thought, I found the youth almost. And then I got to learn more when I moved to Atlanta that it was a next level to health that you can get to. And I'm always ambitious in that way. Mm-hmm. If it's something that's going to really be able to sustain me, I can commit to it. And that's when I learned about plant-based foods, and I educated myself about even the dangers of over-consuming soy and making sure that my foods were MSG-free and things that's coming from the earth.
Right. So are you? Yeah. So are you gluten-free as well?
Yes, I'm gluten-free as well.
Okay. So how has that changed your health since you, even from going to vegetarian to vegan with plant-based, how has that changed your health?
I would say the biggest thing that I see, my stamina, my ability to work and focus, it just increased. Mm-hmm. And I don't have, I think sometimes people normalize having to, being sleepy or having the itis in the middle of the day.
Right.
Yeah, I don't feel any of that. Okay. So just to be able to be aware and focus and be able to work, I see it there. And it is very rare unless I'm not resting or if I'm not hydrated that I even get sick.
Okay. So what would you recommend to someone who's saying, for 2019, my goal is to go plant-based? What would you recommend for them to do?
To pace themselves one plate at a time, one snack at a time, and to be patient with the process. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I tell, when it comes to, changing what we've always known. I'm from Mississippi. I've eaten everything. Mm-hmm. So when you change everything your whole life, it is not possible to do that in one day.
Right.
So, yeah, I believe in pacing and educating ourselves, getting people who eat the way you eat and think the way that you think, because it expands you. Mm-hmm. But patience with the process is the biggest thing. And not being judgmental of the things that you don't know.
Right.
Because there's so many things out there that I've learned, but it took years for me to learn this. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so
I see
plate by plate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because I got certified as a holistic health coach, and even though I got certified, I'm still learning more things every day. So
right.
So it's not like it's because I got certified, I am to know all everything. It's always something you can learn each day about your craft or about the nutrition that you're trying to put into your body. So my next question is, what would you tell the people who's skeptical about going plant-based in fear of not getting enough protein?
Oh, that is the running joke about being plant-based and where you get your protein from. I tell people to always just do what the easiest thing there is to do, and that is Google. Mm-hmm. So you can Google, you can put whatever a normal animal-based protein next to a plant-based protein, and you will see that it has the same or exceeds it. Mm-hmm. That you can have a thing of kale and get protein, that you can eat peas and get protein from that. Yeah, and making sure that people have the proper supplements, because I make sure that I use supplements myself.
Right.
Because I think there can be a gap if you're not eating enough, that you're not feeding yourself. And that's if you're eating non-plant-based foods or not. We don't eat enough of the right things. So right. Then I think that's when you go to 7 Under and talk to them over in the holistic department and get some really good supplements.
Right. Okay. So my next question is, so you have a PhD in education?
Yes, it's an education.
So what made you transition from education into being an entrepreneur?
I'll probably be an educator the rest of my life. So I
Okay.
tell people, that is who I was created to be. I still now get an opportunity to lead education symposiums. I travel all over talking about education reform, talking about brown and black kids and entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
and applying social things that's happening in the community to the curriculum and normalizing that in such a way that now the curriculum and the text is relatable.
Hmm.
So I will always be an educator, even in this space of entrepreneurship with the Village Market. Though we have this big showcase, we have empowerment classes
Hmm.
monthly. I'm leading the majority of those and getting some colleagues to join me. But transitioning just from out of the classroom to having a space in my life to do the Village Market and some other things, it was just, I do believe in trusting how we feel and
Hmm.
how we feel consistently. So I started to feel isolated in the classroom, though I love my students. I taught high school.
Hmm.
I love my students. I love my staff. But even in that love, I felt unsatisfied.
Okay.
So what I typically do is when I get into those spaces, I say, well, how can I still do the thing that I love, but make it fit me?
Right.
And I created this concept called Wallless Classrooms, and I knew that wherever God were to take me in my life, I was still going to teach the things that I've learned, and that's how I've been able to keep the educator heart inside of me.
Wow. I really like that because it's like you still you know education is your life's purpose,
Yes.
but you wanted to move it from the stereotypical four walls of a school to more of a more infinite opportunities to teach a multitude of people and still do what you love to do, but do it in a different type of way.
Yeah, it's less limitations. I'm not having to submit a lesson plan to anybody,
Right.
and I can really teach from an authentic place. So if I can better inform parents about how to advocate for your children, if I'm not isolated by the truth anymore.
Right.
And so that freedom has been liberating to me because I always say I don't believe that parents don't want to support their children.
Hmm.
I think that parents are neglected of the right resources and the right tools to support their children. Unless you've been fostered in an environment where, you just got it like that.
Hmm.
But for me, Kevin, I'm a first generation. My mother was a high school dropout.
Hmm.
And as far as having a doctorate, I'm the first in my family to do that. And my sister was the first person to graduate from college. So I didn't grow up in an environment where I saw PhDs or medical doctors who were black. I didn't have people in my life who taught me how to complete a FAFSA. I was fortunate enough to be smart, so I was able to get a full scholarship.
Hmm.
Those things saved my life. But I teach in a way of how I was raised. I know that there are things that my mother needed to be empowered, and she didn't have it, and so she was intimidated in spaces when people had all the titles behind their name and in front of their name. So I teach in that way because I know that the biggest advocate for me was my mother and also my father as well. But they didn't always know the words to fight for me and to
Hmm.
fight for my sister. So I lead in that way.
Wow. So so what do you think from an educational standpoint? What do you think the school system and or the parents need to do to help these kids become the best version of themselves education wise and go on to do greater things?
Uh, that's a tough one. I think it depends on the environment
Hmm.
in which kids and children are being raised, and environment that their parents are in.
Hmm.
Socioeconomics is a real thing, and black and brown children, and sometimes white families in high rural areas, they feel the stronghold of poverty.
Hmm.
And when you are fighting to make sure your bills are paid every month and working 2 to 3 jobs, you almost have run out of hours in a day to advocate for your child and make sure he or she is doing their homework. So what I share with parents is Make sure that they do check in with, if they don't know things, get with what is probably free in the community. That's either community centers, churches, whatever your faith is. But you have to put your children in the right environment. And that doesn't always have to come with the cost. So if you can get them in a community center, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, get them there. And also, when they do well, make sure you tell them that you're proud of them. It shouldn't just be expected anymore that kids do well. I was raised in the expectation, that our job was to do well. But kids now, they need a lot of, I see you doing well, especially when they go home and go into communities where they see the opposite of that.
Right.
So when they are working hard, you truly have to honor that and let them know that it's special to be smart. It's special to go to school.
Right.
So I think there's some of the things that parents can do, and when they can, please go to parent meetings.
Right.
Teachers treat you differently when they know that you're going to show up.
I agree. Because I know when I was growing up, my brother and I was growing up, they knew they couldn't just do anything to us because they knew that my father was going to come up there. So,
right.
And I think that's in any kind of environment, even like in the nursing home environment. I used to work in healthcare, and I would tell people, the nursing home is what you make of it. And if you just drop your family member off at the nursing home and you never come up there to check on them, then of course they're going to do whatever they want to do. But if they know somebody's going to come every day or every other day to check in, then you're forcing them to do their best because they know you're going to be expecting it. You're going to expect it. So I completely agree with what you just said. If the parents just show up to the meetings or to parent-teacher conference, let them know that, I am active, then they would do better, I think.
Yes, indeed, because they know that someone is going to hold them responsible for how their child is treated.
Absolutely. So with the Village Market, if someone was interested in having a space at the market, what would they have to do?
They would have to complete an application on our website, and everything is thevillagemarketatl.com. So you can go there, complete an application, and then you have to be patient. The beauty and one of the blessings of the Village Market, we've been able to grow this nationally. So we have hundreds of businesses applying at this point. And we're very intentional with what business we select in our process of not oversaturating the market with the same type company. So, they apply, take their time on the application because we consider everything. But know that when they hit submit, if we just based it on the last market that was just a couple weeks ago, we chose 85 businesses out of 718.
Wow. So what type of businesses you chose 85? What type of businesses were they? Were they all like holistic?
So, it's holistic in the messaging.
Okay.
So as long as, just say if it's a T-shirt apparel, what people are wearing should be positive and progressive and moving the culture forward. If people are using, if they create skin products, that should also be ingestible in the body. So we don't support any chemical use. We support makers, people who are making things from their home, and companies who are providing services to the community. So that's what we look for. We really look for positive, progressive, and small businesses that can help sustain the community, help sustain the economic community.
Okay. What's one of the things when a friend of mine a while ago sent me a message that said, you need to talk to Dr. Key. And I did my research on you. I'm like, okay, because you was aligned to what I think about and how I see things. And the fact that you're doing something to build the community up and forward the culture, is right along with how I see things and what we need to do to create the best life as a community. So what made you think, what made you change the mindset of, instead of me waiting on somebody else to be the leader and help our community. I'm gonna be a leader and help my community.
I think leadership is something that is kind of born in you.
Hmm.
I've always just been a leader. If it was if it was Sunday school, let me read. If it was basketball, I want to be the captain. That's a good and bad thing because I probably got on my parents' nerves all the time. But I have always just, if I had a passion for something,
Hmm.
I have an unwavering belief in myself.
Right.
That if I was given a vision to do it, that means it can be done.
Hmm.
And when I see a gap and if I see a need, I just don't have time to wait. I rush to that thing to fix it, and I know that everything that I need, all the people to help, they're gonna come. I just have to keep my heart in the right place and stay focused on the greater good. But as far as seeing something larger than me and greater than me, I don't have a fear to walk towards it.
Hmm.
When I see that, that excites me.
Okay. Hold that thought, because what you said was very powerful, because a lot of times we all are given a vision of what we should be doing, and you said it doesn't give you a fear, it excites you. What would you tell the people that are the opposite? They know what they're given is what they were called to do and what they should do, but they have that fear that stops them from going forward. What would you tell them?
I would ask them to sit with it. Is it fear or is it anxiety of, I see it, now how am I going to do it?
Okay.
Because fear and anxiety are two different things. You ask me, Kevin, do I have anxiety sometimes? So there are things that I see. Right. We have to choose the words. So there are things that I want, even things that I want for the village market, it makes me anxious.
Okay.
Because I don't always know exactly how I can get it done. I know that I am, but as far as fear of it, I don't know if people are afraid of, just absolutely afraid of their calling, or if we possess that thing inside of us that says, wait, can I really do it? And I think that is anxiousness.
Okay.
So I tell people in those spaces, and I tell myself this too, that I'm going to do a little bit every single day. And then when I look back at the end of the week, I've done all these things, so that I'm that much closer.
Right.
I don't try to knock out a whole year in 1 week. So I'm not one of those people that have these big goals around my house. I have weekly goals. And I map those weekly goals with those big things, so I can look next week and like, oh, I killed that last week. Now I can focus on this next phase. But I tell people to sit with what's making them anxious. If it's insecurity, you have to say it. If when you was growing up, people didn't believe in you, you got to identify that.
Right.
Because until we call a thing what it is, it's going to keep coming back.
Absolutely.
And people will see that weakness in us.
Absolutely. And you hit it right on the head, because when I coach a client for life coaching, it's like I tell them, you have to just wherever's holding you back, you have to own it and then release it, because that's holding you back from going forward. And whatever your goal is, like you said, I tell them, like, as we head on into the new year, I said to get a journal and write your goals for the entire year on the first page of the journal, and then weekly or each day put daily goals, and you have weekly goals and then you have daily goals, and each day your goal should go towards whatever you're trying to accomplish. And so that way you could you got something to go and hold you accountable each day to accomplish your goal. And if you don't do it, then it's on you, but you write everything down to move forward. So what you're saying is exactly right. So who taught in your spiritual walk, who taught you that way of thinking in your spiritual journey?
My grandmother first, I can hear scriptures. I think at night my grandmother has been walking around the house just praying over us or something. but just the walk of faith. My grandmother taught me that. I also remember her distinctly always talking about the story of Job. Now, I don't have Job goals now for people who read the Bible. I don't need to go through all that. But I do know that she stuck to that story a lot because she wanted me to understand that she's still alive. And so she would talk about it if we were on the phone, that there are things that you'll be faced with, and you have to be so confident that you're going to get through it. And I think that's the perseverance of Job. But also from my grandmother, but being in a community where I saw people pray, and I saw people pray collectively, that is powerful to me, especially now since I'm older and I can look back. If there was something that happened in the country, everybody going over to somebody's house and praying about it, not gossiping about it, gathering to pray about it and praying that God will move. So I've just seen that, and it formed in me. Now my thought about spirituality has expanded, where I don't isolate and put people in a box of what they should believe.
Right.
I'm always so that part of myself has evolved in the sense that I'm just grateful that people have a reverence for something and working to live in their best space possible while we're here on earth. That's the stuff that's important to be. Mostly everything I learned, Kevin, is from my family, and I'm very observant. I pay attention to people who live well, not live well financially, but who live well in the spirit. You can feel it,
right?
And I'm always trying to figure out what are they reading, what are they listening to, what does their life look like outside of whatever this big thing that they're doing. And in that observation, I insert those things into my life.
Okay. So, because one of the things I've noticed in listening to you talk is, to me, you're very connected to the source. So it's like, to me, it's like you don't go nowhere without staying connected to the source. That's what I would get from you. I also get the fact that you know that there's no limits on who you are and what you can become. The only limits that we have is what we put on ourselves. That's what I hear from you. Is that accurate?
You must be really good at your job. I'm not the only one walking in my purpose. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. But
so yes, that relationship with the source has it keeps me grounded. It keeps my spirit of discernment.
Right.
But I can tell you, when I don't trust what I know to be true, I suffer. So I really hope for everybody, just trust the feeling that you get. Dr. Maya Angelou said, trust it the first time.
Right.
And and don't go off course of the feeling that we feel about people, about business transactions. Like, that's our little protector that comes up.
So what would you tell the people who are saying for 2019 they go into transition and go into entrepreneurship? What would you tell them? And what would be one of the first steps you tell them they should do?
I would say I hope they didn't wake up January 1 and make their decision based on December 31st. Because I believe in having faith and just kind of jumping out the plane and knowing that the parachute is going to open. But I also know that people do so much work on the parachutes to make sure that they open.
Right.
And so my advice would be, in entrepreneurship and anything, being plant-based, have a plan so your parachute can open.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect or seamless, but you should have some money saved. You should have already started working your network. You should have probably already have some streams of residual income coming in, because that part of when the only person you rely on is you, that shifts based on how you lived before, where you could have had this other income and your small business that you created. So I just believe in having a safety plan because I think that's what all the people who we've seen be successful in this space.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them do the same thing.
Okay. So I looked on your website and I saw that you also have opportunities for people to speak
Yes.
at the village. So how can someone get the opportunity to speak at the village?
Mostly everybody that we've had to speak and come out either at the Big Village Market or at Come Up Clinics or our Unstuck Sessions, these people I've probably met speaking myself.
Mm-hmm.
But now we've been encouraging everybody to just complete the applications, because we were going to spend the last week of this year going through applications that people want to speak, looking at websites, seeing if there's some synergy, because we really want to give even more opportunities to people who not necessarily have a product, but if you have the gifts to speak and to galvanize people, we want to hold space for you and to be able to do that. So complete the application. And my team is so good, Kevin, with reaching out when we know that there's alignment. And the community is good with following up. I will say that.
Okay. Cause like I know I heard you say you're doing like an empowerment seminars.
Yes.
So when is that?
We do those monthly. One of them is called the Village Come Up Clinic, and the concept is that we're coming up together.
Mm-hmm.
My good friend Jay Bailey always talks about build as you climb. So I believe in climbing a ladder, knocking it over, making it a bridge, and that's the concept of coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about entrepreneurship, the fundamentals of that. We talk about how to scale our businesses to the next level, but everything is rooted in, first you have to take care of the temple before you build a business.
Right.
So we have these business sessions going on, but we start that with making sure we talk about all the pillars of holistic health. So that's the empowerment piece. We're trying to empower the soul, and then that soul feeds into the business.
Mm-hmm.
And Unstuck is for business owners who probably felt things that I felt before, that you almost hit a ceiling. It's like, okay, I made it here. Now I don't even know how to pivot or climb higher.
Mm-hmm.
Unstuck, I gather a room full of advisors, and a business will come before the village and share how they're stuck. And then as a community, we help move them forward. That's actually my favorite thing that we do.
Okay.
I've seen businesses come in completely stressed, have no idea how to move their business, if they should quit their business, and people selflessly give 3 hours of their time and just pour into businesses, resources after resources after resources. And I've seen these businesses be resuscitated and doing even better now.
Wow. Okay. So you offering a whole lot that's going to be empowering to the community. So how is there any kind of way people can volunteer to help you out so you can keep elevating?
Yes, there's a volunteer application on our website. We need all good volunteers, people who want to give of their time to support not the village market, but to support the village.
Mm-hmm.
Because I tell people all the time is the village is not mine. I'm just one of the conduits. So when you give of your time, you're not giving to a company, you're giving to the community.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's excellent. So what kind of things would they be doing if they volunteer for the village market?
So it depends. So if we have volunteers for, just say, Unstuck, I've learned that people who come with Unstuck are business owners themselves who found some success. People like yourself, Kevin, who can give that life coaching piece of it, because a lot of stuff is just motivating people to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
People volunteering that way. For the physical big village market, we always need help. But people volunteer just to pass out bags. We do like a whole little concierge service for the businesses as they come in. So we do a welcoming committee. People volunteer for that. But you name it, people. All the event logistics, if you can think of what that looks like, we need all the help. And as far as development classes, we're just always looking for people who have the resources and understand that they've learned some things and can teach it. One of our I start all my team meetings that when you learn, teach. And I ask my team, so what did you learn this week? And then they teach that thing to our team.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we just run the notes. So I encourage the community to do the same thing. When we learn, teach. It's not for us to keep anyway.
Right. I agree. I completely agree. So one of the things you said that and I thought was very powerful because I believe it's to be true is when you talk about people who are going into entrepreneurship, you want them to first focus on the holistic part. So the holistic part is not just the eating part, but it's also the mind and the spirit, correct?
Exactly.
So what
exactly.
would you? So what would you? Why you? I know why, but tell the listeners why you feel that part is more important first before you start going into the business part of it.
I read a lot of books, number one, and so I've seen people who found so much success and never found themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always trying to reverse engineer. Like, how did this person reach all this success in life and died lonely or died sick and didn't feel like they accomplished anything, but we see them as so amazing. And I think those are the things I sat with. And what I try to create for businesses now, because I want all businesses and all people to be financially free, but I don't want us to lose ourselves in that process of being financially free. So when we find ourselves first, the finances will only enhance the quality of our life.
Absolutely.
That's why that's how we can truly sustain. That's when I believe that health is the greatest form of wealth, and then the other wealth, the symbolisms of wealth will come. So that's why, and we do better. We're better stewards of the good things that come to us if we've been good to ourselves.
Absolutely, because I think too, even those who are trying to go into entrepreneurship, and they may feel that they're not worthy of the blessings that come to it. So we have to change that mindset as well too, to say that you are worthy to become the greatest version of yourself. I have a successful business. To change that mindset, because that limitation may also be part of the narrative they have that prevents them from being successful as well.
Exactly, worthiness is a big thing within our community. And, we don't have to go there tonight, but oppression is real. And everything that happened through the Middle Passage is real. But that worthiness piece, I've seen people literally give their gifts away because they didn't feel like they were good enough to have it. And even you give people their praises, they throw it back at you. And, all this little thing, no, you're dope, and it's okay that you are. But I think all of that comes from worthiness. You're absolutely right.
Wow. So what can I do? What can everybody do to help our community grow and be the best it can be?
Well, as we can start with you, I think what you're doing now, this is how you do it, and you're living it. And the fact that, because I got a chance, look through your social media page, and I was like, I'm so proud of him.
Thank
I'm
you.
so proud of him for taking. Yeah, that's exactly what I felt. And in full transparency, I'm not in full, like, I'm exhausted today, but I would not have missed your show because I see the work that you're doing. I see that you're creating a lane for holistic health and doing it in your own way. That's always exciting. And opening up your space, you created a space for people to talk and to teach. What greater thing can you give to the community that the only thing they have to do is dial in and listen? That is absolutely amazing. And for people in the greater community, whatever your gifts are, share it. Know that you're always going to be well taken care of. I say in the village market all the time that there's enough for all of us. So don't be afraid to give. Don't be afraid that somebody's going to steal your idea.
Right.
People have similar ideas all the time, but no one can execute the way that the idea was given to you.
Right.
And trust that. And knowing that overall that our responsibility that while we physically live here is to make the place better than where it was when we came.
Absolutely.
That's almost the birthright.
So what would you, first of all, I want to say thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate that. Um, because I think a lot of times we 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 our own worst enemy because a lot of times, okay, I'll get people who will watch the show and I might have a fellow life coach on the show or a health coach on the show or something like that. And I get people who send me a message saying, why would you have somebody who do the same thing that you do on your show? Because you give them opportunity to possibly take away a possible clientele. And I said, well, if they take a client away from me, that client wasn't mine in the first place. And I said, and I said, I don't live in a state of fear. I feel like, we all could do great things as individuals, but we could be greater as a collective unit. And I said, so if we get away from the whole crabs in the barrel mentality that, what's mine is mine, and I'm not going to share what I know to other people, then we blocking our own blessings and we blocking our chances for the community to grow as well.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. And what you said about someone not being your client, that is true. The point of having multiple teachers or multiple people in a space is everyone can't hear you, right?
Right.
And so when you bring another person on, then the greater reach of doing the good, it expands.
Absolutely.
But I know when you've been conditioned and almost stricken to limitation, then you hold on to the smallest little things because you're so afraid somebody's going to take it from you. And again, that goes back to oppression is real. When you've only been given a small piece of this large thing, what happens in our community, we don't even realize that piece was so small. And yeah, and we're trying to hold that little thing, but if we put all our pieces together, now we can really make a bigger play. But I respect the mindset of people who have not been liberated or found community in a way that shows them, like, I don't want your piece. I just want to enhance your piece, and I want you to enhance my piece, and we're going to put our pieces together.
Absolutely. So what can we do as what you do in the village market and me as life coaching and health coaching? How can we help transform our community's mindset from the state of oppression that some of them are in?
You said it earlier about calling a thing and reminding folks that there's truly enough for everybody. But even in that reminder, then you have to show people what that means. Because we read hashtags all day that don't manifest into anything. People need to see it working. They need to see collaboration working. They need to see black people working together. They need to see black women working together.
Absolutely.
They need to see black women and black men working together because now the narratives are written in a certain way, like it's black girl magic. But it was like, but I know some magical black men too. So we can't, it's like we don't have space to eliminate anybody in blackness at this point.
Absolutely.
So we have to affirm women, we have to affirm men, we have to affirm the elders and children, and none of the isolation stuff anymore. That's why the village market, a lot of people wanted me to do the village market at first for all women. I was like, no, absolutely not. Because though I'm very respectful of platforms that do things that's all for women, that's not my calling. My calling is to do work that can be reflective of all of us, because we're trying to change like families and families dynamics.
Exactly.
Which would better improve in the future. But also, I have some really amazing male friends. So how can I create a platform that's going to elevate black business and not elevate all these amazing black men who I know as well?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, because I just think one of the things I just really believe to be true is the women are doing amazing things. But, I think a lot of times the black men get lost in the shuffle. And we don't, and black men do not have platforms or opportunities that the women get to become their best selves. And so for you to make sure that you allow your platform to showcase black men is is amazing, because a lot of times, like you said, we want, even in our own community, we want to segregate everything. This could be, let's let this be for women only, and all this kind of stuff. But then we block the total growth, because we want the men to be men, and we want the men to be leaders, but we're not giving them the chance and the opportunity to show that and be that. And so that's one of the things, that I intentionally do at times too. I have great women on my show like yourself, but I also want to showcase great men on the show, because
Mhm.
I just believe that society and the media has created, for women too, but also for men, that this mindset that we're barbaric, we're not intelligent, and we all this other kind of stuff. And I just want to showcase people saying that's not true. There are a lot of great men out here who are very intelligent, doing great things in the community. It's just the fact that they're just not seen. And
Exactly. And I can say that, and it's, when you mention black women are doing well, I agree. I think that if there's something to be started, a black woman is going to be in front of that. But I just know that sometimes in the narrative, and I think it's intentionally done, Kevin, where not in our community, but in mass media, it's like we mute black men on purpose.
absolutely.
And because I know that is so intentional and so pervasive, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because I know that part is, if you were to like put in a Google search of images of black men, the images that will come up in Google Pics are far different than the ones that we will have in the Village Market, or my friend Brandon with the Black Man Can. It's things like that. So that's why we have to control our own narrative.
We do.
And if we don't do it for us, who else will? And we shouldn't even expect them to do it for us. That's not their job.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just like we just gotta, just take it and own it and run with it, because like you said, society and media has tried to mute us, and I think with it being us, them muting us like that, we have, it's even in our community, we are so used to men being muted. So when you do see a confident, articulate, strong man, you don't know how to deal with it.
hmm
And that's even in our
Or
community.
be intimidated, or try to find a reason to scrutinize or find something wrong. It's something that he had to do wrong.
Exactly. Exactly.
hmm
As now I don't seek validation, and that's why I try to tell the guys that I talk to, you don't try to seek validation or approval from other people. You want to validate yourself and be secure in yourself. And one of the things my dad always taught me was that, um, when you're confident in who you are and whose you are, that's going to intimidate other people, because a lot of times people, their intent is to try to tear you down. And
Exactly.
so if you're not, if you can't tear, if they can't, if you can't, if you don't allow them to tear you down, then they're gonna try to say that you're arrogant, you're cocky, all these other kind of words that you try to use as a negative spin on it, because you intimidate them, because you are confident who you are, and you're not gonna allow them to tell you anything different.
Exactly. I hope you're telling young men in middle and high school that as well, because they need to hear it, and they need to hear it from someone who looks like them.
Yeah, I do.
hmm
I do, and I
That's
know,
good.
I knew, especially before I moved down here. I used to be in the 100 Black Men of Indianapolis, and I saw the effect of being in that organization, because you have these young boys, and they in a single family household. They usually there's no men around, and so they look forward to spending time with us, whether it's playing basketball or whatever the situation may be, and because they don't get that male figure. So it warms your heart at times. Like you go to the grocery store and you see one of the kids, and they run and hug you, talking about, "Hey, Mr. Thornton, I got good grades today," that kind of stuff. So it's bigger than us, and
Right.
and I think that's what we all got to understand. And you have wholeheartedly taken that on, understand that is bigger than who you are, and your platform is bigger than just Atlanta. If that is bigger
Right.
because you got people nationwide coming to be at your markets. So that tells you, for me, that you know what you're doing and the in the alignment or where you at is what people want to be at because your spirit is bigger than anything else, and they want to be part of that.
I appreciate that. I'll make sure I share, those same sentiments with my team as well. But you're absolutely right. I don't know, Kevin, if it was always the goal to have this national thing. I
Hmm.
just wanted it to be good. I wanted people to feel good. I wanted people to feel welcome. I
Right.
wanted Black businesses to be elevated.
Hmm.
And I think it's the intentions is what make it grows, I think. Because
Absolutely.
I can't. Yeah, I didn't write a business plan and say I want this national market. I wrote things like I just want people to feel good.
Hmm.
I want Black businesses to be proud. I want Black people to come and invest in Black businesses,
Hmm.
and I want to have a space for kidpreneurs. I looked at my notes from 2 years ago, and that's what's all throughout my notebook. And now I'm looking like, girl, why didn't you think about this and that and that? But my heart was just how I wanted people to feel.
Hmm. Wow. Because it's like you said something that was powerful too. Because the intentions about what you're doing, how you're doing things, is going to tell. It's going to determine, how far you're going to go, and
Right,
and you have set the proper intentions to one because it's not about you. It's more about you. You are a true servant leader, and and what we have to understand as a community, we have to be servant leaders because we're supposed to serve our people. We're supposed to serve our higher power, and if you become a servant leader and not chase the money like per se, he's going to give you everything that you need and more. So you being a true servant leader that you are, you didn't like you said you didn't want it to be nationally. You didn't think about being national, but he wants you to be national because of
right.
but what because he know the more he gave you, the more he gives you, the more good you're gonna do for the greater good of the community. So I appreciate that to you.
Thank you, thank you.
So my next question is for our community. Why is it? Do you think is it for us to be important to uh, show more gratitude instead of complaining about what we don't have?
I think because it alters our whole state of being. I think if we're in a space of, just always being angry, always being resentful, then that stuff grow into our bodies and we find ourselves sick.
Hmm.
Or on some of our best days, we can't even feel happy because we so bottled down with all that other stuff.
Hmm.
So gratitude, and Oprah talks about this a whole lot.
Hmm.
Gratitude feeds us.
Right.
Like just being grateful. And I do feel that we need to acknowledge when we just had a rough moment.
Right.
But I tell people to call it what it was. Though you didn't have a bad day, you had a
Hmm.
bad 1 o'clock,
Right.
you had a bad 2 o'clock,
Hmm.
you had a bad meeting. But be sure not to speak that over your entire day. Now, unless you had a whole bad 24 hours, that's different.
Hmm.
But just being selective in our words and being aware enough to see the small nuances of life and when good things unexpectedly happens to us. Because that's the little stuff that's filling our cup
Hmm.
when life is going to really beat us down.
Wow. Because and I completely agree because I think gratitude is something that's needed. And I think a lot of times we always focus on what we don't have, what we didn't get, or all this kind of stuff. But if we just show gratitude for what we have at this moment, then God will give you more. But as long as you always focus
Yes.
on the lack of what you don't have, then He's like, I'm not going to give you anything more because you're not grateful for what you already do have. So that's the mental shift I try to tell people is to always focus on what you do have and be grateful for that. And even if you're going through a bad time, be grateful for that because it's a life lesson. And so and so you gotta be grateful for the opportunity to learn and grow from that bad experience, so it can take you to a whole nother level. So
Yes, and I think gratitude is what takes us to another level, and I think gratitude is what shifts us
mhm
because all of us are faced with things. And I think even in sharing with things that we've been faced with,
mhm
to see that, and you know what, I made it, and I'm still here.
right
People can find the grace of that, and it helps them keep going. But gratitude can shift us so quickly.
exactly. So what is your daily routine, your daily spiritual routine that keep you so grounded and so centered in the day? What would you share with the audience as your daily spiritual routine?
I can tell everyone I'm an early riser,
Hmm.
so this may or may not work for you, but I wake up really early in the morning. I'm typically up by 5,
Hmm.
sometimes by 4:30. But that hour is a still hour for me. That's my time to meditate.
Hmm.
That's my time to just pray and be connected with myself,
Hmm.
um, and even just give a strong evaluation of how I feel,
Hmm.
um, and to greet this new day as truly a new day,
Hmm.
and to be in a space and a mindset to know that great things are going to happen today.
Right.
And I say that every day, and I feel it. And it's like I almost can't wait to see what today is going to unfold.
Hmm.
So I spend that first hour quietly. Sometimes I read and sometimes I write, but most of it is really just quiet.
Hmm.
And I listen to some type of encouraging something every
Hmm.
day, be it a podcast or I go get a YouTube video to listen to. And I spend about 15 to 20 minutes after my quiet hour.
Hmm.
And as far as the health of my temple, then I start hydrating and do my supplements. So I make sure I get water in
Hmm.
first first thing in the morning. I was listening to this podcast, I believe, last year. This guy, his name was Brian. He said every day you should give your inside a bath. Every morning, give your inside a bath. So that kind of stuck and resonated with me because I never heard it
Hmm.
talked about it in that way. But from there, I don't take any business calls or any meetings before 9:30.
Hmm.
I used to try to do that, but I found myself so stressed by the end of the day.
Hmm.
So I block off when I can start bringing people into my world, especially business conversations.
Hmm.
So that's what it looks like. I normally have lunch around 12 or 1 o'clock. My lunch is typically my heavier meal of the day. And then later in the day, that's when I'm more green juices,
Hmm.
more water, more lighter fruits and things like that.
Hmm.
But I'm very conscious to pause throughout the day as well and to just take it in because my days are very full with meetings. A lot. Like today, I had 5 in one day.
Hmm.
So I made sure that I just took moments in my car to just be present and to breathe and to thank God.
Well,
And it helps recenter me.
I love it. It's so funny that everything you pretty much said you do is what I do in the morning. Um,
Oh,
like,
that's good.
like you, I get up closer to 4, and like I did this TV show on holistic health, and I said I get up at 4, and like the first maybe 15, 20 minutes I meditate. So for those who don't understand meditation for me is God speaking to me. I'm quiet, I'm centered, and I'm allowing God to speak to me. Then after I do my meditation, then I pray. And that allows me to pray to God, talk to God, and what I need, what or ask Him what He want from me. And then like you, um, I stay quiet for the rest of the time. I don't turn on the TV or anything like that during that time because I don't. I try to block what energy or spirits come to me and during that time. I want control of that at that moment. And like you do, I do go either to YouTube or I read something that's gonna be inspirational, positive, and then by 5 o'clock I'm headed to the gym. So then I go work out to work the physical body of the temple, and then from there I stay hydrated and all that kind of good stuff. So it's like great minds think alike because you have you have to start off your day, you know, uh, creating the how you want your day to be. And
Yes, and setting boundaries with the type of energy that hits you with the first part of your day.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, it's like if you know, like if you know that you got friends who are typically negative or or a little bit more gossipy,
Hmm.
you probably need to put them in the afternoon. But you cannot have that weighing on you first start of your day
No,
because it informs everything else.
I remember one time, Dr. Key, I used to teach a spin class, and I used to teach at 5:45 in the morning, and so and when I got before I got there, I had got my quiet time, and so this particular day, God told me I want you to start your day off, uh, start your warm up song with a gospel song because what he told me was at that time is at 5:45, 9 times out of 10, I'm one of the first people they see in the day.
Mm.
So he told me to set the boundaries and the and of how their day's going to be. So to play a gospel song or inspirational song to get them going, and then I taught the class, and then I ended the class with a gospel song. And what I noticed was after I got finished, I was packing up, and I heard all this crying. And I'm like, what's going on? So I turned around, and it was a guy on the floor. I'm sitting against the wall crying, and there was two other women on the other side. They were crying, and I'm like, what is going on? And so I had a pastor in the room, so he prayed for them, all that stuff. And they came and they hugged me, and they said, "Thank you for doing God's work today, cause we really needed that today." And I'm like,
Wow.
wow. As they said, so I just like, so it's like you just never know what these people are going through. And so it's like that's why I always try to be the vessel to inspire and be the light, um, to help these people be the best they could be. So
Wow. I commend you for doing that. That is so powerful and so bold because you didn't hold space for judgment. You just did, and you were obedient.
right, and,
Yeah.
and so what? Okay, what do you tell people, especially the men and women? 'Cause I think men dim their light as well. What do you tell men and women who tend to dim their light so they won't intimidate other people?
I tell them the stories of all the time that I used to do that crazy stuff. Um, I tell them my own stories so they can have permission to know, like, listen, you're not the only one. Now we're in a support group with each other. Um, but but I ask them, why do you hide your light or put a shade over it? And then based on what they share with me, then we talk about it. But I tell them, for a lot of times I didn't want to seem. It's like it's the things that we've been conditioned to.
Hmm.
It's like I may do well in life. It's like I'm scared to share it with someone because I don't want to seem like I'm bragging.
Hmm.
Or and then what I've noticed with other people who sometimes not black folks,
Hmm.
they do not have that problem.
Not at all.
It's like it's none whatsoever. Um, but I share what I know to be true. The reason why you have light in dark places so it can be a compass,
Hmm.
so people can have something that's guiding them,
Right.
especially where you're based in your life. Like if you see a light from somebody, it attracts you to walk towards it. And so you think that you're walking towards this person, but it's just walking you out of where you are.
Hmm.
And if you dim your light, then you're leaving even yourself and other people to be literally in this world blind.
Right.
Because if we were to turn up our light, then all the stuff we see in the media, the conditions of the world would be so dark that it would swear to us.
Right. Wow. That is so true.
So yeah, the light is an obligation almost.
I never thought about it like that. I never thought about that. So it's so funny because um you seem very humble, and so a lot of times it's like with you being so humble, you don't like to probably speak about yourself because, like you said, it make you seem like you being, you bragging
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff. But if we don't, and that's something that I work on daily because I'm very much so that type of person. But if I don't speak about what I do and and what my intentions are, then I can't help the people that need to be helped.
Right. Right.
And
I totally agree. But I think it's that battle with being humble
hmm
and knowing the difference of being confident and being arrogant.
right.
You can be both humble and confident. I think you need to be.
hmm
Because we have to show each other how to walk up straight with our head high towards the sun.
Absolutely.
And to know, yeah, it's like you have to see it. When I have to go speak to kids, the way I walk in the room is totally different. Because what I'm hoping for young girls is that they walk in knowing that they own their light, and for young guys to know that they own their light.
hmm
And I tell them to own it because that is the thing that is ours that no one else has. And we've been given it so it can shine.
hmm So I know you say you do a lot of speaking. So what if people? 'Cause people ask all the time too, or I know people who said they want to transition and do speaking engagements. What do you recommend for them to do?
In whatever setting that they're in where they have an audience to speak. So if you, this is one thing I got my little cousin to do. This is back home. But I made her get up and start doing the church announcements. Like whatever you need to do so you can start owning your voice and get used to being in front of people, you need to do it. But put yourself in a position where that can be nurtured. It doesn't have to be this big thing. I'm a firm believer that do the small things, big things come. But
hmm
we have to be confident in owning our voice. So if you know that you've been called to do that, then by all means speak. And if you don't have a physical audience,
hmm
now we have the social media thing
Right.
where you post your video and get comfortable with seeing yourself, get comfortable with hearing your voice, because the things that I'm sharing are things that I had to learn to get comfortable with.
hmm Absolutely.
And yeah, and you have to almost force yourself in those environments, because I used to be extremely shy, but I felt that I knew that being shy was underserving my calling. And
hmm
I'd be like, God, I cannot wait until you get this, like, until you remove this from me, because I got way too much work to do, as if it was God doing it to me. Uh, but I remember saying, I don't want to be shy anymore. There's so many things that I have to say, so many things that I want to do. But it's just learning to get past all those disbeliefs. Am I good enough kind of thing.
hmm Wow. Okay. So what if? Okay. So my next question is this: you got these. You have women who are doing amazing things, um, and they are leading the way when it comes down to entrepreneurship and financial abundance. Um, what do you say to the men who wants to do the same thing? There's men out there doing. There are some men out there doing some things, but it's documented that it's more women going to school and graduating from degrees than it is us. We're getting better, but what do you, from a female perspective, what would you want to say to the men?
That is, you've been called to do it, then you have to do it, because the narrative will not change if everybody if black men continue to feel like there's no room for them. You have to make room. You have to make room for yourself, and you have to make room for other men. Um, and to silence all the noise and the chatter of what black men are not doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I shared with you, if you know that you're a black man doing something, then you tell that story and you bring other black men on, and you create groups and support, and then you go out and you do events where more black men can come and be a part of it. But we can't change the narrative if we just continue to succumb to what the data says. The data is always biased based on who's inputting the numbers.
Right.
So trust that as well. But as far as just black men, and this is one thing I see with the market too, if you were created to make something, go make it. If you were created to create a service, go do it. And do it in excellence, though. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's not just about doing it. But now we're in a place for black women and black men that we must operate in excellence, because that is the guide. That's the thing that helps put everybody else on in these spaces.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, because one of the things too, you said that's part of holistic is the mental and spiritual wellness. What would you say? I'm gonna ask you to speak to the men again. What would you say to the black man who is broken? You know, because we have a lot of men that's broken, and
Yes.
they want to be great, but they don't know how to start to put everything back together so they can start being great. What would you say to them?
I can share, and I don't think my father would mind me sharing this, but, my mother died a couple of years ago, and that left my dad completely broken. And so my conversations with him have been so different since then. It's like I'm his daughter, but I'm also, like, pushing him to mend his heart and to be okay with all the emotions that you feel and the loneliness that you feel and the disappointments that you feel. So what I share with my dad and things I share with my brother and some of my friends is that it's, number one, it's okay to be broken. That there are stigmas that's put into what strong black men should look like. And I don't know any strong thing that wasn't built from the ground up. And it took time to get to the place of strong. And sometimes being strong takes rebuilding. So trusting the process of that and if it's mental support, get a very, very good therapist, get a very good counselor. Someone where you can talk to in a safe space where it's okay to be vulnerable, where it's okay not to have all the answers, and where it's okay to show emotions, whatever that looks like.
Right.
But I feel that black men have to make space for themselves to not always be the quote-unquote strong one, and that strength is packaged in so many different ways. And that's one of the things I told my dad, that you can still lead the family and be heartbroken. It doesn't make you less of a leader,
Right.
but it makes you less of a leader to know that you're heartbroken and not even express that to your children, because then they give us permission to be heartbroken.
Absolutely. And I think nobody has ever given men the permission to be vulnerable, or the permission to feel any kind of emotion other than anger. And so,
Oh, that's good.
and so, therefore, they don't know how to be. And so, it's something like that, something that you just said would speak volumes to a man, because if the woman in their life, whether it's their wife, girlfriend, a sister, or a friend, gives them permission to be vulnerable, and they know they could do it and not be judged, it'll speak wonders, because then they can really try to grow.
Yes, indeed. Frederick Douglass said, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. So that first invitation to be vulnerable has to come early on. And I understand when parents want their kids to be strong kids, right? You don't want your kids to, cry about everything. But I do think we have to hold space for tears, and to know that is not a weakness.
Right.
But like any emotion, you learn how to work with it, right? So for black men, I think that first permission has to be when it was just when and this man was a boy. Now, if you didn't get those opportunities as a boy, then as a man, you have to identify with those pieces that are inside of you that's hurt. So you can also make sure that if you're now a father, that the things that you needed as a kid, that you can give your son that, or put your son in an environment where it's okay for him to receive it.
Right. I love it. So, what's going on next for the Village ATL, Village Market ATL?
We have, last weekend we kicked off our mall tour, so that's been fun. I partnered with Stonecrest Mall, Arbor Place, and Northlake Mall to do a holiday pop-up. So this weekend we'll be at Arbor Place. The next weekend we'll be at Northlake. And then after that, Kevin, we're doing nothing but resting for the rest of the year. It's been a long but good year. So we'll take about a week and a half off, and then we're going to hit the ground running in 2019, planning for the big Village Market events, planning to announce some other partners that we have that's going to bring even more exposure to Black-owned businesses. And honestly, the goal for us is just to keep getting better. So what I can assure that is coming up is that our next experience will be better than the last, because that's the bar that we're always climbing to.
So I know there's no limits, but if there are no limits to what you could do and what you could achieve, what would be your ultimate goal for yourself and for your business?
Oh, that is a very good question. Oh, okay, so we can start with that is a good question. Also, personally, no limits. I would love to get a book done this year. I've been working and putting this book down and picking it up and putting it down, but with no limitations, with no days where I have 5 or 6 meetings. I would love to finish this book. Now, as far as No Limits for the Village, I've been working to get us on a tour where we can hit some other cities, some other states. That has been quite a challenge to be able to do that in excellence the way that I want to. That's why I haven't. But with No Limits, I would love to see the Village expand physically in other states where we can continue to expand the reach of the Village and keep creating this concept of one village. If you're on the West Coast, it's still one village. We're all working towards the same thing. And also personally for myself, I would love, with just no limits, I can't wait to get to know myself even greater.
Okay.
And and even have an even deeper relationship with God. I look forward to that. So whatever that looks like in a no limited space, I run to that.
I love it, because my goal, well, for me, I do, before the end of the year, I would love to have a chance to sit down and talk to you and brainstorm some things, because I really like your energy. It speaks through the phone, so I know it's probably greater in person, because you got me thinking about a lot of different things, and I was want to run it past you to see what you think about it. So if you have some free time, I would love to try to connect with you if that's possible. But
Yes, indeed.
thank you. But as we getting ready to wind it down, I want to give you some time to whatever's on your spirit to speak to the audience, and it don't gotta be about. It could be about anything, holistic, spiritual, whatever you feel is best, wherever God's guiding you at this moment. I want you to say it to the audience.
First, that's very good. I've been able to do this a lot now. No one has ever done this. So, Kevin, I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
What I would like to share is that I pray that these last couple weeks of the year, that as a person, as people, as mothers, as fathers, as single folks, of people who've experienced some type of heartbreak or experienced illness or who had an amazing year, that these next couple weeks that you sit with how you would like this year to end for you, so you can birth the beginning the way that you want it to be.
Right.
But unless we focus on and be intentional with the ending, I'm not sure that those affirmations that we write at the beginning of the year, I don't know if we gave them enough roots to be strong. So I pray at the close of this year that you start planting strong roots within yourself, within your heart, within your foods that you eat, within your friend group, within your finances, that you feel all the things that you need to feel. Plant them deeply in the earth and really be ready for a new birth in this new year. But to know that every single day, every single opportunity that we get to live and breathe and fellowship with one another is one of the greatest acts of kindness that God gives to us. And if we could just lend that kindness to each other in a physical form every single day, then we'll see a better quality of life. So my prayer for everybody who is listening is to sit with yourself and sit with God. Be intentional with how this year closed. Put those roots so deep in the ground. Forgive yourself if you need to. Let some stuff go, because I'm sure we're holding on to way too much. Mm-hmm. And if that's even letting go people who are not serving us, they have to go, because nothing can grow if it's being anchored by things that's weighing us down. So that is my prayer for everybody that's listening. And if you are a business owner, I pray that you know you're dope. I pray that you know that you're worthy. I pray that you know that our world is better if you create physically and show people the creation that comes from you.
Wow. That was amazing, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So where can they find you or the Village ATL on social media?
Everything is the Village Market ATL. Make sure you guys follow us. We always got some great things going on. The website is www.thevillagemarketATL. All social media handles, just put in the Village Market and make sure you have the ATL on the end. Sign up for our mailing list. We always have great things, and to know that those great things are not owned by anybody. It's not about anybody. It's about all of us. The Village is about the collective. So you're not an outsider. Everybody is welcome in the Village if your intentions are good and based on the progression of us as a whole.
I thank you so much for being on part of my show. I have been truly blessed, and I hope my listeners have been blessed as well. If I don't talk, well, I will talk to you beforehand, but have a great Christmas and very amazing abundance of 2019.
I wish the same for you, and continue the good work. I look forward to meeting you in person. I'll make sure that we do that before this year ends. But blessings on blessings, and I know that everything that you're doing, you haven't even began to see it. So I'm already thanking God for that.
Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it. Have a great one. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye. And that was the Wellness Architect Show. She was an amazing guest. I hope you have learned a lot. I hope you take her prayer for you guys and plant the seeds to start now, creating what you want to have for 2019. So when you start 2019, the roots has already been there. So with that being said, be great, be authentic, be intentional, be you, and we are out. Peace.